Okay, we are recording.
Thank you, David. I'll call the meeting to order. We always begin with the pledge. I want to say today that today was George Floyd's funeral, and just before saying the pledge, I want to acknowledge that there are a lot of people in our country who are grieving right now for the injustices and inequalities around his life and his death. And I just want to say that as we say the pledge, I'm remembering that for me and probably for all of us, that education is the chief instrument of equality in our great nation. And when I pledge to a republic where there's liberty and justice for all. And I just wanted to say that to remember George Floyd today. May we please say the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Okay, our first item is let me get my agenda. The approval of the minutes from May 12th. I hope you have those on hand. Oh, I have April 14th and May 12th. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of, let's start with the 14th of May. Or is there a motion to accept the minutes of April 14th? Seeking a motion to accept the minutes of April 14th.
I didn't get a chance to read them, so I don't want a motion. Sorry.
Okay. Let me then, hearing none, I will, without objection, move that to our next meeting and ask for a motion to accept the minutes of May 12th.
So moved. This is Robin.
Moved by Robin.
I'll second. This is Kristen.
Okay. Is there any discussion? I had one correction. Craig Locarno, just on the names, Craig's name was misspelled. Is there any further corrections or discussion of the minutes of May 12th? All those in favor of accepting the minutes as written, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, thank you. And thank you, Becky, for the fine work that you do for us. It does not go unnoticed. We have changes and additions to the agenda. I have two changes. One is that we have Kathy Carafa's retirement listed, and we did accept it at our last meeting. And I would hate to give us another chance because we might not. So I would strike F from the agenda. I'm sorry that slipped in, but we have accepted Kathy's retirement with regret. I have one other change, and that is the Memorial Day Celebration Committee. And I would like to postpone that because I have not done any work on it since we met. Are there any other requests to change or add to the agenda?
Well, we will be presenting the Mario Bevacqua Award this evening. I don't know if the recipient is with us. I'm not seeing, but I can't see everybody. BJ, can you see everybody there? David will present it.
I can stop presenting. Hold on.
I don't want to say her name. just because it'll be a surprise when we do present.
Okay, I stopped presenting, so Mark is now in the room. Mark Youngland.
He was.
Yeah, I did send the link to the student and family.
Yeah.
I-
Marie, if you click at the top where it says there's 25 people and there's like a little person icon, you click on that to show everyone, and then you can scroll through and see everyone who's on the call.
I see everyone.
I don't see them
this-
on. I don't see them on right now. Excuse me. I've tried to message him. I sent emails in Facebook right now, so I don't see them on,
We can
unfortunately.
still do
Should
the
we
present.
wait a little? We could wait a little and present it.
Okay,
We could do that.
Here's my thought there. That let's put it after. Let's make it the last item on the agenda after the Hicks Nichols grants update. And BJ, keep an eye. If you would please keep an eye on the list, and let us know if the recipient is here.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Are there any members of the public who are present who have concerns that are not on the agenda that they would like to bring to the board?
BJ has something.
Okay, the person is now on. We don't see her face, but I do see her name on the screen. There she is. So for the Mario Bevacqua Scholarship, she's here now.
Hannah, I'm very glad to have you with us tonight.
I'm very glad to be here. I apologize. I read that the meeting was at 6, so I'm sorry for being late.
Don't worry about it.
No, that's par for the course, Hannah. Thank you.
Done, but somehow got kicked off.
I've got a little bit of background noise. Somebody's microphone.
Yeah. We should all probably turn our mics off if we're not.
Yes, that's a good call. Thank you for muting. Okay, hearing no additional items for public participation, we will move to items for discussion. Sorry for the hiccup here. Because Hannah is here, I would like to go ahead and move the presentation of the Mario Bevacqua Scholarship up to the head of the line without objection. Very well. Jean Marie, BJ, are you prepared to do the honors, or Diana? Who's awarding?
I am prepared to do the honors.
All right.
Today, we are presenting the Mario Bevacqua Scholarship Award for 2020. Mario was the principal at the Wethersfield School for 20 years. He was dedicated to the belief that every single child deserved a well-rounded education. He served as a positive role model for both students and staff through his passion, good humor, and generous spirit. Each year, a Wethersfield High School senior who exhibits these same qualities could be chosen to receive a $500 scholarship. Scholarship funds may be used for tuition, room and boards, or books, and will be dispersed at the beginning of the winner's second semester of college. It is with great pleasure that we congratulate Hannah Kemp for winning this award. Hannah graduated from Windsor High School just last Friday night. Hannah will be attending the University of New England. Her major is undeclared at this time. She hopes to travel abroad to further her studies as well. Hannah, the Wethersfield School is very proud of you, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And this is your award, which I
Thank you so much.
congratulations. Hannah, we do need a picture of you. I have several when you were little, but we need a new picture of you to put in the town report because we always write about it.
Who am I
Congratulations.
sending the picture to?
If you send it to my friend BJ, it won't get lost because she's amazing.
Will do.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Good
It's
luck.
great to see you.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Hannah will represent us very well out there in the world. Good to see her. Point of order, I neglected to mention that the board has received a correspondence that correspondence from our principal and the principals of the other schools in our SU, as well as our director of curriculum and the director of special education. Because the correspondence pertains directly to contracts, we will have to receive it in executive session. So I'm sorry I neglected to mention that previously, but we will have an executive session. Okay, that said, the first item for discussion is plans for COVID-19 for 2020 and beyond. David, are you going to take the lead on this? I know that a tremendous amount of work is being done right now, and I think a lot of the people on this meeting have been key to it. But David, since you're the superintendent, would you take the lead on this conversation, please?
Yeah, I will certainly, and people can feel free to jump in as they see fit. There are really a couple of things happening with respect to planning. The first was trying to, I've used several analogies, but sort of dock this ship or land this plane for this year. And the best way to do that and to provide teachers some time at the end of the year, because we got our snow days waived, which worked. We had an opportunity to put a planning team together of teachers and administrators, and we put together some days of professional development at the end of the year that will, I think, begin to get us ready for next year. But more specific to that point, we're going to be establishing what I'm calling a reopening task force, which will take the best advice from the Center for Disease Control, CDC, the World Health Organization, the AOE, and the Vermont Department of Health. And we'll have a couple of nurses on that committee, a couple of teachers representing the union folks, because there may be some contract issues about opening up next year. The administrative team, will certainly be on that committee. We've got some survey information from parents. We're going to grab another survey from teachers here before the end of the year. They don't know that yet, but it's going to be very short. And then this team will start meeting. We really did not see a need to meet like in the next week or so, because we're not going to get any more guidance from the CDC or the AOE or the Vermont Department of Health until the last week in June, first week of July. So we've set our first meeting for that task force for July 7th, I believe. It's the Tuesday after July 4th. There'll be a lot of communication throughout the summer with parents, kind of keeping them informed about the plans around reopening. Right now, the guidance that we've gotten, both in terms of extended school year services for special ed students, summer school, and reopening, all have some pretty strict restrictions and distancing obligations and contact health regulations around, sanitizing areas and all of that stuff. Some directions around how many kids you can have in a group, how much that group can move around the building. There's a ton of stuff to be considered, and we will consider it all. And then we will also, as we communicate with parents and communicate with staff over the summer, we'll be continuing to ask the question around the comfort level of returning to school, because there is the biology of this pandemic and there's the science behind this pandemic, but then there's also the social, emotional impact of this pandemic on employees, on kids, on families. I've had, emails from parents telling me that they don't want to send their kids back to school. I've had an equal number of emails that sort of ask us, when we can possibly get these kids back to school, because I think they're driving them a little crazy. So you got both sides of this equation, and we're going to try to meet the needs as best we can, but we're going to most importantly follow the health and safety guidelines from all of those agencies, because our first and foremost priority in all of this is the social, emotional, mental, and physical health and safety of our students and our staff. And we have to keep that at the forefront. So stay tuned. More will come. We'll keep the communities and the parents informed to the best of our ability. And that's where the planning is right now. The only other thing I will say about planning, and I think it would come under this item on the agenda, would be the fact that we are changing the lunch format starting on June 22nd. We're going to enter into what we call the summer mode or the summer protocol for lunch delivery. We've been delivering to every single bus stop, but that's costing quite a bit of money every day. Luckily, we had that budgeted because we would have been running the buses if we were in school. But now that we don't run the buses anymore after June 19th, and we don't have staff who are employed by us who are willing to come forward and provide some service, we have to cut back quite a bit on that summer lunch program. So we will be delivering to several locations in all 4 of our communities, but it'll be, one van dropping off the lunches in those central locations. We'll have volunteers at those locations who will make sure that, the kids pick up the food and only take one of each item and all of that stuff. And we've got the vans to do the work. We've got the drivers to do the work. We're almost there on the volunteers to man those locations. But I expect we won't be serving the 700 to 750 kids. My guess is last summer during summer lunch, and some of the Wethersfield kids ate last summer, we served about 100 kids. I think if we could double or maybe even triple that, we'd be doing well, because there are some kids that still need that lunch, depend on that lunch. They're just going to now have to figure out a way to get to those central locations to get that lunch. So that's the only other thing in the planning stages that has changed. If there are any questions, or if anybody else has anything to add, Jean or Angie, or I see Jess's hand, it looks like it's going up. Feel free to comment or add to this.
I have a question about materials for the fall, specifically as it pertains to things that the kids can have in hand. I know that budgets are frozen. I know that everybody's worried about spending money, and I don't want to take away from that. But I've been in conversations with parents and teachers about materials that I personally want to put in the hands of kids. And it's really important to have that mind body connection when it comes to writing. We have some kids who aren't really writing things down on paper when they're doing math. That's a huge concern of mine. I have kids who dislike reading on the computer. I have parents who dislike the fact that their kids are reading on a computer. I really want to put books in the hands of my students if we do not go back to school in the fall. I personally don't mind disinfecting and putting them in plastic baggies so that my kids have access to those materials, but it's a concern that I want to bring forth to the board in preparation for COVID, because it's something that has to be planned for and discussed, because we're talking about, I have books at the school, but I know that some of them will get lost in homes. There are things that are going to happen, and it's going to be a cost. So I wanted to ask that question and bring that up. There are a couple other things I want to bring up, but that's one thing that's important.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question, Jessica. And I thought it was coming out today, but I told Ed Connors and the business office that we wanted this to come out before in-service started for teachers, because it can be part of the collective conversation when you're meeting in your teams and in your pods. But there is a new requisition process that's in place that I think is going to hopefully simplify it. The principals and administrators have all looked at it. I thought it was going to go out today. It didn't go out today, but you are going to be able to fill out requisition forms for materials that'll be for the FY21 year. You're right about this year's budget. It was frozen, but we're going to order as we always ordered. We're going to at least fill out the requisitions. Then we're going to hopefully look through those requisitions, or the administrators will, and decide, which of those purchase orders will be approved. We're going to be tight next year too. There's no question about it. But I think we're going to have some level of material for kids. Jean?
Thanks. In fact, when you look at the in-service agenda, we're looking at program-based and place-based learning, and we're looking at integrated units of study. We wanted you to have an opportunity in teams to start to look at the materials you need for those new units. So I am a little surprised that didn't come out, but I know it'll come out before next week, because that's when our work begins.
Yeah. Hopefully by the next day or two, you'll get that new requisition information and you can start filling it out.
Jess, are you looking to get materials to students during the summer?
I've already, that's a good question. I've already posted a math workbook that aligns with Eureka to help with remediation over the summer and any of that backsliding that we see at times in students. I've had many people send me messages saying, we can't print that out. I don't have a printer at home. That's a lot of paper. So again, it's not one of those things where I feel comfortable going into school and saying, oh yeah, I'll just print out 100 pages here at the school for your summer math packet. So I haven't offered that to people. Mostly because it's a concern. I know that money is a concern. You have one teacher doing it for one kid, it's not a big deal. You have 20 teachers doing it for 200 kids, that becomes a problem. So everything that I am going to be giving my kids to do are going to be computer based. And even then we have an equity problem, right? Because there are some kids who are returning their Chromebooks and don't have access to their own electronic device. And equity is another one of my concerns moving forward. It's a huge concern for me and other teachers.
A question is, time is so short right now, and I imagine that you've thought about these things, but would it help for the school board to approve an expenditure in the short term to get packets out on that last bus that comes to all the families? Because that's the bus itself has been a lifeline for families in terms of staying connected to the school. And we know it's been expensive, but it's going out a few more times. And I don't know if there's any chance, if the school board can support putting in some money to support getting those packets out over this next week, which I know is an outrageous thing to ask.
I don't think you're going to have teachers who are going to be able to get into the buildings in time to get that out.
No, they're all working remotely. They do have the 19th, but that would be a huge ask. That's supposed to be a teacher workday where they're getting the final pieces done. We talked about this as an administrative team, and because we did have a couple of parent requests for, could you send home workbooks? Could you send home learning packets? It's a nice request, but again, it's an equity issue. If you do it for one, you've got to do it for everybody. And it wasn't so much a financial issue, although there would be a financial concern. It was much more around what could we ask our teachers to do during this crazy last 2 weeks in terms of getting ready for this. I think, and I don't know, I would also say, and maybe it's just my own philosophy. I mean, I think our kids need a break too. They need to just get some space. We will be working on any kind of remediation we need to do next year. We don't know where they'll be at the end. But I hope a lot of them, after all of this project work and computer screen work, and I just hope they get out and play a lot this summer and relax and be with friends. But we did talk about this, and it just didn't seem doable.
As far as putting pen to paper, I'm going to share this quick anecdote. This morning, my wife went for a run. She does a lot of that now. And I was milking a cow. Saul, my son, who's going to be in your class, Kristen McNamara, I saw him when I went out to the barn writing something on a piece of paper. And when I got back, Ashley was here too. He'd been writing, "Mom, will you please make us biscuits?" And and when she got home, he was in her cookbook, and he'd found where the word biscuits was, and he was just trying to copy it down because he's, "Mom, I didn't know what to do after the C." So
resourceful. I like that.
There is pencil and paper out there.
Yeah, but I think for next year though, Jessica, it's a good point. We're gonna have to figure out ways to get materials into these kids' hands, because it can't all be screen time. And if we are remote, we've probably overdone it a little bit even this year with screen time. We've got to get more, books and projects and all that kind of stuff in their hands. So
there is going to be an opportunity to get materials to the kids if we do start remotely next year.
Yeah, that will be a real goal of ours to do that. Yep, that's got to happen.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments on the COVID planning and what's going on? Robin, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to say I agree that it's super important to get actual materials, reading materials, writing materials, even just being able to write your math problems out on a piece of paper. Like, my brain just doesn't work in any other way. And seeing my kids type math problems is just completely foreign
Painful.
to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. We need all of it across all the subjects. We need tangible materials.
Yeah, there was also that call for, I know it came up several times around graph paper. People just don't have graph paper kicking around in their houses. And that can be important for a lot of subjects, but certainly for mathematics. But yeah, so we're going to have to tackle that as part of our planning.
I'm going to come back to the buses one more time as a possible instrument to help us with this, because as there is more time to put packets together, we know that learning loss is going to be an especially big problem, more than usual this year than it has been in other years, because we've been out of school for so long. If we could muster, once teachers have a chance to get into the buildings, if we could authorize one more bus run to distribute those, because we have that in place as an instrument that we can use. If we could authorize one more bus run and the expense of creating all those packets, that might be something to consider during the summer.
You mean to deliver them over the summer, you mean? Or
deliver them over the summer, yes.
Yeah. Our last bus run this year is on the 19th, which is that last teacher workday, but we can certainly, talk about that, because then we'll be into the FY21 budget by then pretty much anyway. But, and I don't know whether those buses could just be summoned back or not. I mean, those guys take, vacations and the buses get refurbished for the next year. But I mean, I think it's a worthy discussion. It just, as we discussed it as an administrative team, and I don't know whether Gene, you want to weigh in, or Angie, but it just seemed to be so many bugs in it that it was not going to work. Now, Gene, you're the one that would have to put that all together and make that happen. And we
have an equity issue, because I have teachers who are vulnerable and don't want to be in the building when others are in the building. So you would have some teachers choosing to do packets, some teachers not, some parents willing to take packets, some parents not. That would be an equity issue. I read an interesting article, it's here somewhere, about what in the world, actually Nate McNaughton sent it to me, and Springfield is kind of using this as their Bible to move forward. And the crux of the study is around kids, accepting kids where they are. They said the worst thing we can do is, and some of the things we talked about, is going back, saying, well, let's start the kids back in the grade they were in. We'll catch them up. Then in the first quarter, we'll move them on. We actually had those discussions. My teachers will tell you we did. Let's say Kirsten McNamara, third grade teacher, she's going to teach the spring skills of second grade when her kids come in, and then start third grade later on. That study said, don't do it. It will result in as much as 5 years left behind for these kids. What we need to do is what we're really talking about now is personalized learning plans. These kids come in, maybe they come in, maybe we do it remotely. We assess them and we give them what they need at that point in time. And it's going to look different for every child. I know today, Kristen Hubner assessed every student in reading in kindergarten, first grade that she worked with. And Kristen, you know, I see you're on. I was extraordinarily pleased with the results. And I could tell you those scores right now, but I won't, of course. But I'm thinking of a couple little boys that were really lagging behind. And I've been extraordinarily concerned. And next to their scores, she did running records. And they were, the majority of them were at grade level, kindergarten and first grade. And she wrote next to each child's name how one of them, actually, I believe that student was in second grade, how she had worked with him 3 times a week. He was really far behind, and he ended the year on grade level. She told of another student who was very far behind, and they ran out of time, but he still scored above grade level. So I know that I have a pretty good handle of the kids she served in K1 and 2, just through those running records. I know those teachers will use this data as they start their year, because we are going to be loyal to our Eureka Math program K8, and my K3 teachers are absolutely going to continue teaching foundations and early literacy. Those are not going to be integrated. Those will be separate units of study, and there may be reading and writing and math in the integrated units of study, but those are standalone curricula. I have great faith in the skillfulness of my teachers, and I know that there's a lot of, if the children are back with us face to face, in particular K4, I know those teachers do a battery of assessments to see where their kids are, to fill in the gaps, to level the playing field. I'm not concerned. I know we've been out of school for children since March 17th, out of the building, not out of school. I can tell you there are families, and Sean, I think your family is one. You've embraced this opportunity as a time to do family things. And you know, intelligence is not based on what you read in a book. It's about those experiences, how you build vocabulary when you're walking through the stream, when you're hiking with your family and you share, you see a red-winged blackbird and you start talking about the genres of birds. There's so many things that you can get outside of a classroom. And I would tell you that's equally as meaningful. We have been religious about connecting with kids every day to make sure if they're not getting that experience through home, through childcare, through direct instruction, then we're making it happen in other ways. So I'm not really worried about the kids. We'll know when we get back and we're face to face, and we don't know what that will even look like. But I do believe that all of our children will be cared for and will be getting something. And in the summer, you know, we have ESY, extended school year, for our students that need a little extra. And I've been sitting in those extended school year meetings with Barb Martin and Karen Ammerman and Tim Herbert and Katie Ahern. And I know some of our most complicated kids are getting good services this summer. So I guess I have a different worry about that.
My worry about that is that there are some kids who have access to those types of experiences and that there are some kids that do not. And we don't really know which kids are which. I want to applaud Angie Ledoux for the Dave Melnick presentation that we're going to have, because he talks a lot about the trauma that's happening during this period of time specifically, and our responses to that. I think I've gone through just about every single response, Angie, during this time of COVID. I have not been my healthiest self. I have not been the best version of myself during this period of time. And we're going to see, I think, that kids and parents have experienced similar circumstances. And we're going to have to recover from that. We're going to have to find out some really troubling things. I think when we come back together again in the fall, regardless of if we're in person or apart. I haven't found out as much as I know to be true in my heart of what these kids are experiencing. I can tell when I'm talking to them, and I can tell when I'm looking at their faces. There is a sadness and an insecurity in our students at Wethersfield, and I think it's pervasive. I think it's everywhere, but it's something that we are going to have to deal with, and that's another concern of mine is the mental health and addressing the insecurity that's going to be present in our kids when we return. The bottom fell out of their lives and back in March, and we haven't put it back. So it's a concern. And I think it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Sadly, Melissa's not here. She's our school counselor that's coming on board, but I'm sure that she's going to have some opinions and ideas there too.
Jenna is here. I saw that Jenna is on.
Yeah, Jenna's here, and Jenna and I talked on the phone yesterday, but she's leaving, so.
I know. We just don't know what's going to happen. They don't know either. I think I'm seeing what you're seeing as well. Even in my resilient children, you can see how it adds up, and it's been a long time that they've been away. That's why I keep pointing to that school bus that shows up with the food as being it means so much in terms of keeping that connection and keeping the connection with the school. I have resisted for the most part asking too many questions about what's going to happen because we don't know. But one of the things that I have both heard anecdotally and one of the many things that we've all read came from the New York Times a couple days ago that had a survey of families and teachers. And it brought up one of the concerns I have about how we come out of this period, and a real impact on the school is that there are some teachers, I'm not speaking about our community, but generally speaking, there are teachers who are electing not to come back to whatever it's going to be. And there will be families who also opt out. If it's masks and dividers and eating lunch by yourself, there are families who will opt out. And that would tend to be families of means who have the wherewithal to do it some other way. And that I know I pointed out at our last meeting, but while staying out of the process, I stipulate that it's so important that whatever it is that we offer, that it's compelling and believable for our community and for our teachers so that everybody wants to be in school, whatever that means. I know that's a broad assertion, but it addresses a challenge that I see for us if people opt out. Are there further comments or questions on the plans for COVID-19?
I just have one thing. I think that we should stay open-minded and remain flexible to those issues that you just brought up about families opting out. I think we need to stay open to what we could make happen for those families. Just so they don't lose that community connection, because that's a real you're right, that bus it's hope on wheels for a lot of these kids. So I think that's important to make it known to those families that we are there for them.
I know this is going to be on our agenda for the foreseeable future, so we'll come back to this. Are there any further comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to end of school year and virtual teacher training. I will note that at our last meeting, there was a request to try to get the Secretary and the Agency of Education to give us back our snow days, to take some days off of the end of the year. And I would say that largely to, I know that our board weighed in with the Secretary, and I even got the question, I got a reporter from the Chester Telegraph to ask the governor directly about that, about giving us some days at his press conference. But I think in a great degree, thanks to David's lobbying, we did get our 4 snow days for Wethersfield. So that was one development on this item of discussion. Jean Marie, would you take the lead on the virtual teaching training and what's happening at the end of the school year?
You bet. But I think Angie would be a good partner. You know what I'm just discovering? My agenda that says June 9th doesn't have the same agenda items as your agenda, Sean, which says May 12th. So I've been following a different agenda. No wonder I'm confused. A different one was sent to me, apparently. Mine says Memorial Day. Mine says Memorial Day observance this year and proposal for the future. Do you have that one?
No, I have the updated June 9th agenda.
I can share that with you, Jean.
Well, there might be multiple versions out there, because I was complaining to Sean that my version didn't seem right either.
Thank you, Rob.
I think that happened because it was updated after, and people got it sent to them before it was totally updated.
Well, neither one of mine talks about virtual training, either one. That's why when Sean asked me, I thought, I'm always prepared for board meetings. I'm like, whoa, how did that one
on the
slip?
last email from Jen that stated something, that's where I got mine, and it's the one that Sean's doing.
Well, it doesn't matter. I don't have a correct agenda, but I would be delighted to speak on the virtual training. And Angie has really been the leader in all of that, and with the administrative team, but also a teacher team. I know Laura Powers served on that team, and Christina Hughes served on that team. So we certainly have had good representation. It's the last time I downloaded the virtual training, I had 16 pages of notes. So we've been busy, I'll say that. And we have a variety of important things. What we wanted to do was, we didn't want to waste time. We had 4 half days, and they would be the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 15th. And then we had really 4 full days. They would be 16, 17, 18, and the 19 is the building-based day in the teacher's contract. So we really reached out to find out, what is it teachers need to close their year and start their year, regardless of if it's remote, if it's in school, or if it's a hybrid. Now, when you think about that, we can't predict that. So the most important thing the committee and the administrators felt was that whatever we created, it had to work for children and families in whatever setting. So we really spent some time talking about, at the administrative level, proficiencies. We talked about program-based instruction. We talked about place-based. We talked about ways of integrating the arts in a meaningful way. We looked at Jay Ty's work on backward design, starting with the end in mind. What is it we want kids to be able to know and do? We actually have a template that we'll be using so that that will help teachers really focus on the big picture. What do we want kids to be able to know and do after this 4 to 6 week unit? And we've got our special teachers, of which we have 5. Only 4 will be participating because the French teacher will not begin until the fall. But those 4 teachers will be working with pods around, and Angie's done a lot of work on this just, I think, today. Angie, you want to pick it up there?
Yes, it's a very complex plan, but actually, I mean, it's complex only in planning it. And I think that once we get started, teachers are going to do what teachers do best, which is plan and work together and develop units that really help to engage students no matter what environment that we find ourselves in the fall. We are starting with a laying of the foundation of that brings people up to speed, working with our consultant, Mike Nicholson and David, and they will be putting tomorrow, putting out a presentation in a Zoom meeting for the professional staff on the portrait of a graduate. And then the following days, we have 2 days for pre-planning for specialists and teacher teams to get together to brainstorm and think about what is it that they really want their students to know, do, understand, and care about in those first 6 weeks of school. And then from there, then they will have more time to really get that planning done and flesh out their lessons, etc. We do have a day on Friday where we're going to have some collaborative problem solving training, and then have an opportunity to do some closure related to the Dave Melnick training. That was a request from the staff. Jessica alluded to it earlier, that we can't move forward until we've had an opportunity to express and share what teaching during this time has been, what our experience during this time has been. So that'll be a facilitated process in small groups for our staff to share their feelings, etc. in that time. And then Jen Aldrich will be wrapping that up with some self-care discussion. So each day we are fleshing this out more and more, and we are going to have some time for teachers to talk about supplies as their planning gets further underway. They're going to have to be thinking about what supplies, again, as Jessica said, to make sure that we know what we're asking, what we're going to need for our students to be successful, either remotely or in person. And then we're going to have some opportunity to share out across grade alike teams across the supervisory union. And David will give us all a happy send-off at the end of the afternoon on Thursday, the 18th. So I think it's going to be, I mean, it's intense right now for me, just trying to get everybody where they need to be, and our principals are working like crazy to do that as well. But then the teachers will be doing a lot of hard work, and our paraprofessional staff are also going to be receiving training with various members of the special ed staff, as well as Jennifer Aldrich is also going to be offering trainings on collaborative problem solving, and we've been fleshing out the paraprofessional training schedule as well.
I would say too that I was lucky enough to read, I think it's the 4-page report that the superintendent submitted to the AOE and to Secretary French. And in that, David, I thought that was very impressive. It talked about finances and transportation and professional development and what kids need. And I believe in that report I read that the recommendation was 170 school days. So we could front load at the beginning of the school year. So not only have we provided all of this time at the end of the year, and David has encouraged administrators to let teachers know if they want to work over the summer on these things, to let us know. We'll see what we can work out. And then before the year begins, we're hoping, I hope it's 5 days, maybe it'll be 7 days, that we'll have this time again to gear up. By then we're going to know what the configuration will be. And we've looked at a number of possibilities, maybe as many as 6. And so it could be a hybrid of any of those. And by then we'll know. And I think that planning will be critical to kick the year off. And so really I think I've been the busiest I've ever been in 42 years. And I'll bet teachers could tell me the same thing. And I'll bet some kids would tell you they're pretty tired too. I do FaceTime with a couple of kids and they're tired. They work really hard when it's time for school, but they're tired by the end of the day. Sometimes they call me milkman when they're in meltdown mode. So I will tell you, I know they're tired. So, but I think we've done good work. We've done yeoman's work and we have more to come. And I think we're ready.
Hearing nothing further, I just thank you all for this extraordinary work that you've had to do. And everybody knows it's not easy. Our next item is the Principal Search Committee. David.
Yeah, let me just, for those who weren't at the board meeting last time, let me share. Let's see if this works. I will try to share. I know many of you have seen this, but this is the process. You all see that I can make it a little bit bigger. I think I can make it a little bit bigger. Maybe I can't. But anyhow, this is the process that we put in place. And I know I've gotten a couple of emails, Sean, I think you have, around people volunteering already to be on the search team and the search committee. But I think if you look at this, it starts with identifying the stakeholder assessments. That's number one. And because of the COVID pandemic and the fact that we were kind of trapped in these Zoom meetings and Google Hangouts, I gave us a little flexibility on that one. That part where we start to solicit from our different stakeholder groups what we're looking for, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities for the new principal. I put the completion date for September 15th. So that's why you haven't really heard much. I don't know, we may have to do some of these community forums virtually this summer, or maybe try to pull something off this summer in person. But I'll continue to talk to Sean about the best way to do that. The staff, we could wait till we return. I just felt with everything else going on, that was not the time to do that stakeholder assessment. But anyhow, you'll see that completion by September 15th, because that's when we start to put together the search committee. So that's when, and I'm keeping the names of people who have reached out to me. If anybody tonight has an interest to be on that search committee, send an email to Sean or send an email to me. We're keeping those lists. And I've got, I think, one staff member or 2 staff members already, and 1 community member. So we'll hold on to those when it comes time. Again, it has to be limited by the outline that you see there under number 2. So again, if we get 10 community members, we're going to have to figure out a way, and the board will figure out a way to vet through those names and decide who they want to represent, the community and the parent community. So that's pretty much the first two steps, and those are the big steps. Then, of course, the search committee looks at the data that's generated by those stakeholder groups. Then we sort of design the advertisement and maybe update the job description. Then we do the actual advertising, and that's sometime in early December. And then number 5, that interview committee works through those resumes, comes up with a semifinalist list, and then that gets passed on for usually around 6 who get interviewed. You try to narrow that. Could be more, could be 8, 10. You narrow that down to 3 finalists, and then the board and community, certainly the board would interview the finalist recommendations from that search committee. So I think it seems like we're, other than just announcing it at the board level, and Jean very willingly giving her notice early, which was helpful because it gives us time. We're going to be able to be looking in the fall or the late fall, early winter, and that's the time to look, because administrators don't sign contracts until usually April of the following 2021. So I think we're going to get a good selection of candidates. I think we'll get plenty of representation from the Weathersfield community and the parent group and the staff to be on the search committee. And I know the board in the end will be diligent in doing background checks and interviewing. So just hang on tight. Again, the only thing that might have to happen over the summer is we might want to pull 1 or 2 community forums together or parent forums together to do that stakeholder assessment. There's a process. We kind of work them through with that. So but again, that could also wait. If it had to, it could wait till the end of August when people get back from vacations. We'll just have to move quickly. But Sean and you and I can talk about that going forward. If there are any questions, that's fine. But that's kind of where we are, and that's why people keep saying, I know Jean announced her retirement. I don't see an advertisement. Well, we wouldn't be advertising right now. We want to hit the best time for advertising, and that's usually in the late fall, early winter.
I have a question, David.
Sure.
Is that search committee appointed by the Weathersfield board or by the SU board?
That gets appointed by the Weathersfield board.
Okay.
Yeah, you make that appointment of the search committee. And again, you'll do that at your September meeting, basically. That's what I would think. Or maybe the October meeting. No, this is your hire. This is a Weathersfield hire. And this is a very, we talked about this last time. This is an important Weathersfield hire because as the principal goes, so goes the school. So we've got to make sure, certainly, we want to hire a person who aligns with some of the directions we've been moving in. But I think this has to be right for the Weathersfield community as well.
David, if people want to be a part of the stakeholders assessment, how do they apply to be a part of that?
I think what I'll do, the parent one will be fairly easy because we've got a good parent list, and Jean has a parent list, but I also have the email blast to parents, and we can do just the Weathersfield parents. So that Weathersfield stakeholder group will be easy to pull together, whether we do it virtually or in person. I'd prefer to do it in person, which is why I'm waiting. But the community one's a little bit more difficult. I think, maybe the board's going to have to help with that. Whether we post, we post that on Facebook or get it on the listserv or figure out a way to announce it.
I can certainly put it on the Facebook page. Some people have already been contacting me about wanting to be on the Hopes Nichols committee. So I could probably post that in the same place and get some volunteers for that as well.
Yeah, once we set a date, and again, I know I keep saying this, but Sean and I really need to talk about whether we want to wait out this virtual world and see if we could do something in late July or in August when we might be able to get people into that multi-purpose room and cafetorium and lead them through an in-person sort of focus forum. I think that would be nice, but we can we can talk about that as a board. I don't know if people have comments tonight about that, but we can start that as soon or as late as you want to do it. It's got to be done by mid-September, so we've got time. But it's a question of we can do it virtually. I mean, we can have 100. Larry tells me you can have 225 people on a Hangout, but you can have 500 on a Zoom meeting. But I don't know that that's the best format, but we could talk about that.
Anything further on the principal search? Hearing none. We struck the Memorial Day celebration for this meeting, and that brings us to Hicks Nichols grants update. We have completed a great deal of research into the origins of the committee and have determined that what the board wants to do is to open up the membership of that committee so that it's appointed on a regular basis by the board. The board and our principal and superintendent have all been provided with the existing Hicks Nichols award process that was adopted in the 1990s and has been reaffirmed over time by that committee. And I hope everyone has had a chance over all these meetings to get a good look at that. But it is my understanding that the board is not proposing any changes to that established grants process. That it was developed over time. It has been revised. The last time it was revised, that I can tell, was in 2018. So it's relatively recent. What I think we're looking for tonight is, David, are you putting something up there for us?
Yeah, I'm trying to find that criteria because I know you sent it out, Sean. I just can't find it, but I will try. Yeah, there it is. Can you see that?
Not yet. Okay, so great. And if you can make that larger and scroll down, I mean, presumably at this point, we've done our research and we have familiarity with it, but I don't believe that we're looking to make any changes to the grant process. And if I hear hearing none from the board, I would continue. The one thing that is not specified in the bylaws, it does say that there's a little bit of word editing. If you go down under grant awards, there's a little bit of editing in the middle of that paragraph, where it says the approved grant applications will then be presented to the school board at the next meeting following at least 2 community members, 1 parent, 2 teachers, 1 school board member, and or the principal. That looks like 2 sentences that were put together, but that's a simple edit that I think we can fix. But the intent remains the same, and the composition of that committee would remain the same. All we need to do is to discharge the existing committee and then give to Jean Marie and BJ the text for an invitation to the broader community to apply to be appointed to that committee. Before I stop going on and on, there's one thing not specified in the bylaws, which is it does not specify the length of term on the committee. And that I think that's one of the ways that we kind of lost track institutionally of how the committee operates, how you get on the committee, and how the things are reviewed. I've thought about this. We have not talked about it as a board, but the one change that I would seek to make to these bylaws is to specify the length of term. And in a way, you'd like to have some continuity on that committee. However, for the sake of institutional memory, because there's always a lot of turnover on the school board, I almost think it would be wise to specify a 1-year term, and so that we would remember at the time of our board reorganization to also appoint that committee. So that's all I have to say about that. I do have a proposed text.
Can we reply? Can we have input?
I'm sorry? Ginger?
I'm
Ginger,
sorry,
can
I'm
you-
hitting the wrong thing.
That's okay.
Are we
Yes,
allowed to
please.
have input?
Of course.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, may we have input, or is this not the appropriate time?
I think this is a fine time. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm glad that this was found, this piece of paper. I think that 1 year it isn't a good way to go. I think it should be at least 3 years a person should be on, because you start to understand, you see the different applications that come through, the types of grants, what they're used for. I think that's enough of a turnover every 3 years. That's just my opinion. I understand that, the school board changes and so on and so forth, but teachers or community members may step down if they wish. That maybe that we could stipulate that. But I do think a minimum of 3 years is a good way to go. And then they're recycled off. Recycled maybe isn't the right term, but anyway. Okay, it's so good to hear all of you.
I know, even in this odd way of being together, it's what we have.
Yeah, but Jess, you know
Ginger?
I'm a whiz at this. Go ahead.
Ginger, I don't agree. I don't disagree with you. I agree. Well, I agree that 3 years would be better for continuity, and it's just how would we ensure as a board? Because I won't be on the board in 3 years. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
So,
well, I
so
would say
how would we
maximum
remember?
of 3 years. If you say you might be accepted on the board for no more than a 3-year period, and then you'll go off in others. Could come
What about
on.
a mixed
Diana?
set of terms like we have for the school board, a mixture of 1-year terms and 3-year terms, and then that way you have both continuity and freshness, and you also have what Sean mentioned as that consistency of every year you're at least checking in.
Well, what we found over the years, for many years, I was on quite a while, and then Jim was on, and then it was surprising how it changed over the years. People just got on and got off, and they got busy. So even though they could have stayed on, there was no term limit. And it just seemed that it was never the same old people every year, with the same old ideas. So I think it kept it fresh just the way it was. And then there wasn't even any term limit. But I guess I wanted to hear this tonight because I just wanted to be sure. This Hicks Nichols, the family, they wanted it as a community entity there. It was something that the community had not charge of totally, but the school board has charge of this huge, huge budget. This is just, although this is a good bit of money, it's nothing near. And they just wanted the teachers and the community to have kind of control or of this program. It's supported wonderful things over the years, as you know, and it's just a wonderful thing to have, especially in lean years when we have to cut things. I remember when we had to cut the art teacher, so we scrambled to find projects to apply for Hicks Nichols. Okay, you know me, I can go on and on, but that was what I wanted to say was that I just want to make sure that this does not get swallowed up by anybody else, that it's a separate thing of itself and it's a community board.
I think that's exactly what we're trying to do, Ginger.
Okay, thanks for listening.
Sean, may I throw out a suggestion?
Please.
If they were to stick with 3-year terms, as far as looking for volunteers, is there any way of phasing in and doing every other year or every third year, staggering the start dates as far as the board is concerned, and keep a couple of people on, and then just start, every other year you get 3-year appointments? Does something like that make sense? As that way we're not starting with fresh from ground zero, and we do have some continuity from the current board.
Great idea.
Well, sorry. I didn't, that was a thumbs up from Ann.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if what I said was clear. I'm just thinking out loud as far as what could possibly happen. Keep some continuity from the current board.
To be clear, Robin, is that the essence of what you're asking for as well?
That makes sense. I think that accomplishes the same thing as what I was talking about, although I was specifically saying some 1-year terms and some 3-year terms for the purpose of continuity and newness both being on the board at the same time. But I think that a staggered 3-year terms accomplishes the same thing and allows people to get used to it and learn in the role. I know from school board, it's really hard to learn in 1 year kind of what your role is. So I'd be fine with that.
Well, it is my hope that some of the veterans of this committee will apply for appointment in order to give us some of that continuity. So that's one hope that we have. Yes, Diana.
Thank you, Sean. I would like to also say what Ginger said about the 3-year term, and I'm glad to hear that the board is not interested in just taking control of it, because as one of the teachers who's been there for quite a while, there's special things about Wethersfield, and the Hicks Nichols organization there has been so great to fund those extra things. Ginger and I went to the Hood Museum with the 4th graders for 3 years. And did art projects up there, and we got to expose the 4th graders to the Hood Museum. So I think of it kind of like an enrichment. It's not meant to replace something that you can't budget for. So I'm not going to use it for more graph paper or more calculators. It's for those special things that can come into the school for 1 or 3 years. I think also, as what's been mentioned, is because it's a 3-year commitment for funding, you can't get it more than 3 years. I think the people on the committee should be on at least 3 years so that they can have the information about who's applied and who hasn't applied. And, oh, there's a new group on. Let me try to apply this year. I got denied last year. Let me see if I can get it this year. Also, you're going to need to make sure that someone is the secretary or record keeper or file of it so that they can pass it on to the new members. I know that, like, in the town report, it talks about, and it's the same thing with board members, Diana Stilson, school board person, expires March 2020. You could do something like that in regards to the Hicks Nichols committee. And like Robin was saying, I think you need more than a year to get your feet wet to understand how it goes and everything that's about it. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I would stipulate again, which I've said before, and which we've all stated, the school board is not trying to swallow anything up or change the intent of anything. What we're trying to do is return the town's largest public fund to the control and influence of the people to whom it belongs. That is, the people of the town of Wethersfield, and that it should not be in the hands of a few people forever, but should be shared equally and fairly among all of our citizens. And that has nothing to do with the board trying to swallow anything up or take it away. That said, I think we have on the floor a question of whether to try to institute staggered terms or all three, in other words, 1, 2, and 3 year terms, or all 3-year terms. I think I personally favor Robin's proposal of mixed length terms, because as we know from school board and our own experience, for instance, I ran for a 1-year term and then for a 3. There are folks who might want to not commit for a long time, but try it out and then either stay or leave. Other board members on that?
since no board member is commenting, I think staggering them is a good idea, and start with someone perhaps who's been on for a while and give them that 1-year term. I mean, start them out knowing that they'll only have 1 more year, and then somebody else will have 2 more, but somebody else will have 3. And from then on, then they'll all have a 3-year term. We do that with a board of governors for the Historical Society. Everybody has a 3-year term, but they're staggered. And it works out very well as far as continuity, and it's just a great way to do it. Now I know how to shut this off and on.
Yeah. Hey, Sean, I was looking at the bylaws again. Where is it? Where is the makeup of the committee? In other words, does it say?
It's inside it's in that paragraph that I indicated. The sentence, this fragment that says at least 2 community members, 1 parent, 2 teachers, 1 school board member, and or the principal.
Okay.
Then we'll need, I think, 2 motions from the floor and 1 direction to the principal. The 2 motions, one would be to discharge the committee. A second would be to resolve to appoint a committee to recharge that committee at our next meeting, or as soon as we have sufficient applicants. And the part of that has to be worked out is length of terms. And we
I had a question, Sean.
Yeah, go ahead, Ann.
How are we gonna, like they were mentioning about like the paperwork and things like that, how, like when we discharge the current committee, what's gonna happen to all of like their records and so forth? Is that gonna go to BJ, or who's gonna take responsibility for that?
Yeah, I have an idea there. At our last meeting, Laura Berry alluded to a folder that that Ginger had passed to her. And what I would ask is that if that folder could just be delivered to the school board mailbox at school, and we can then deliver it to the committee at the time of appointment. This is a 5-member. This is a 5-member committee as currently constituted, and that's as far as the number of members that are, or the composition that is specified. It doesn't say that it's limited to 5, but if 5 was the basic number, then would we want to have 2 3-year terms, 2 2-year terms, and 1 1-year, or 1 3, 2 2s, and 2 1s? Thoughts?
I'm confused with this. I thought there were 2 community, 2 teachers, administrator, board, and then I forget what the other one was on there.
2 1 5 6. Okay, so you're right, Ginger. There's minimum of 6 plus the principal.
Maybe 1 or 2 people could sit down and kind of work this out and then bring it back to your next meeting or something. I mean, it's not going to be difficult, it's but just to.
Especially if no, but I think we'd like to get this out there as well. I think that's we've been working on this for a while. I would love to get done. David?
No, I was going to say, yeah, you have been working on it for a while, but given the fact that there are 6 members, that makes it a little better because that's divisible by 2. So you could you could have 2 3-year, 2 2-year, and 2 1-year, and then you'd have the 1 years going off at the end, and then you'd have another 3-year coming on. So you just have that staggered. It sounds like what Ginger does with the Historical Society. It would just kind of rotate a little bit, right? So the 2 3-year appointments would be on for 3 years. The 2 2-year appointments would be on for 2 years, and then the 2 1-year appointments would be on for next year, and then they'd roll into another 3-year.
Okay.
No, that wasn't what I meant. We do it, whoever you are, you get appointed for 3 years. Okay.
Right.
And then, when you go on, somebody else comes on, but there are still 2 other people there, who've
It's
been there.
staggered, right?
And okay, is this what you're meaning? That
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. But the first year you do this, you have to appoint a 3-year, a 2-year, and a 1-year, right? Because somebody has to stagger off to make that staggering work, basically. Okay. So the initial appointment, I think, would be, yeah. So it's two parents, 2 teachers, and 2 what? 2 community members?
It's 2 community members, 2 teachers. I believe, I could be wrong, 1 parent, 1 administrator, and a board member.
Okay.
I think that's it. I might be awful on that.
Okay.
Can I just say I like David's solution there. As far as the 3, 2, and 1 for the initial startup, I think that's equitable. And then after that, you can stagger your 3-year startings. But yeah, I don't know how else you would start it except for what David said. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
It does seem to be adding up to more than 6 to me, though. I think what Ginger just said, add up to 7.
You're right.
I think I have it straight, Anne, and let me give a try here. We would be looking to appoint 6 members, and of the groups already specified, and the terms available would be 2 3-year terms, 2 2-year terms, and 2 1-year terms that are available. Is that?
I think the 7th one that Anne Marie is confused about is that the principal, I think, can sit, ex officio if she wants to or doesn't have to. I don't think it says they have to sit, right?
Yes.
And I believe there was also a school board member on there too.
Yep, that's part of the 6.
Is that part of the 6? Okay.
Yeah.
1 board member, 1 administrator.
So 1 board member, 1 administrator, 2 community members, and 2 teachers?
Yes.
Now you got it. Write that down.
I know we can do this. Okay, so we'll be looking for 2 motions, 1 to discharge the committee and 1 to recharge the committee with a 6-member board consisting of the categories that we just mentioned, with 2 3-year terms serving to serve 2 3-year terms, 2 2-year terms, and 2 1-year terms. I can make that motion if it would help when we come to it.
The better question is, does Becky have that motion? Sounds like she does.
We'll get there. The first one's easy. Is there a motion to discharge the Hicks-Nichols committee?
I'll make a motion to discharge the current Hicks-Nichols committee.
Anne Marie, sounds like Mark seconded.
Is there any further discussion? I have something. I want to thank the long-serving members of that committee for all the wonderful opportunities that they have directed to our school. And I also ask that they would consider applying to be appointed to bring continuity to this committee going forward. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Unanimous.
Okay.
No need for a roll call.
Now, let me try this. I will move that the Wethersfield Board will resolve to recharge the Hicks-Nichols Committee with 6 members, including at least 2 community members, 1 parent, and 2 teachers, in addition to 1 school board member, to serve term 3-year, 2 3-year terms, 2 2-year terms, and 2 1-year terms. Is there a second?
And that's no principal? Did you
Oh,
say
excuse
principal?
me.
I think you
Yeah, it says in the bylaws, it's in the bylaws that the principal may serve. So I don't think we're advertising to the principal.
Okay, it's a may.
It's a may.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it said. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think
But
there were.
it shall consist of all the members that are mentioned in the bylaws. So that motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second it. It's Kristen.
Kristen Russo has seconded.
Becky, how are you doing with that?
You want to read it back, Becky? She's trying to turn her sound down.
Oh, you have to unmute Becky.
She's got it. Are you? Yeah, there she goes.
Yeah, I think I missed a little bit. I move that Weathersfield School Board will recharge the Hicks Nichols Committee with 2 members from the community, 2 staff members. Is it staff or teachers? 1 parent and 1 school board member.
I'm
And
checking right now.
do we need to put the principal to serve 2, 3 to serve as 2, have 2 3-year terms, 2 2-year terms, and 2 1-year terms?
Yeah, you've got it. And I don't think you need to mention the principal because that's in the bylaws.
Any further discussion?
It does say teachers in the bylaws, so I guess it's teachers, not staff.
Thank you.
Okay, so change that to teachers. Okay, that's what I thought he said, but
However, those the community members could be support staff, of course.
Yeah,
there's nothing prohibiting that. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous.
Who seconded that motion, Sean?
I
You
did.
get- okay, sorry, Kristen. Good, thank you.
I'm terrible at sharing, but I do have a proposed text that I've shared with the board to be used as an advertisement to solicit members for the committee. And Jean Marie, I will get that to you to put in our next newsletter, if you will. Is that agreeable?
You already sent it tonight, unless you're going to put the terms in, or if you'd like me, I have it. I'm looking at it. It starts with "You are invited."
Yes.
The Weathersfield School Board is seeking volunteers. Now, I have that, and I can put that out on the web. I can do it tonight. I can send it out. How would you like that?
It only needs to be, what I sent you needs to be amended according to the motion that we passed tonight, which is about the length of terms. That's the only part that's not in it.
Yeah,
So
two years.
do you want me to add that, or do you want to?
I'll do it so I can be blamed for any mistakes, because I love
Super.
that.
Send it to me when it's ready. I'll be happy.
Diana.
Who's going to have the, what are you going to divide it up so that a teacher has a 3-year term and then the other teacher staff member has a 1-year term? Who's going to get these terms?
I would say it's just like the school board where you apply for what you want.
Okay, but if you are as a teacher and you apply, how do you know if it's a 1-year, 2-year, or a 3-year?
I guess it would be what you ask, what you volunteer for.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, the board will also have a chance to vet the applicants, and I'm sure we're sorted out at that time.
Okay. Because like when you want to be on the March ballot for school board, you know that you're applying for the 1-year, the 2-year, or 3-year position. I just didn't know if it was going to specify.
Yeah, I will put in the advertisement, Diana. You make a good point, and I'll put in that. Make sure that the applicants should specify what length of term they're seeking.
Yeah. Or what length of term they're willing to serve. Right. Yeah, that's good. That sounds good. We're going to have to go back to them and ask them probably in the end anyway. But
okay. That would have brought us to the presentation of Mario Bevacqua Award, but Hannah has already received that.
She got it.
That brings us to the principal's report. Jean Marie, are you prepared?
She's got her mic
up. Unmute. Actually, did I just say that?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that report was going to be stellar.
And your opportunity. Actually, everything I wanted to talk about, we've talked about, and that is the training that's going to start tomorrow afternoon for teachers, and really how proud I am of families and communities for working so hard to really do their best during this difficult time. I'm extraordinarily proud of teachers, BJ, support staff, food service people, the volunteers. Everybody has been energized, kind, so giving. And that really, I think, has taught us all a lesson about humanity. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of Wethersfield. We've done a wonderful job. One of the things I had intended to talk about was how we would roll out MTSS, the new guidelines, and we're just not there yet. With all of the changes that occurred and the unexpected things that we were faced with, we've had to put that on the back burner. Our focus now is safety and making sure to educate all children. So MTSS will have to wait. And that's my report. Did anybody time it?
That was good.
We have questions for Jean Marie. I guess this might be more in, I understand that the MTSS, their priorities, and we can only do what we can do. But I know that there is concern there. Obviously, there's been a change in the model of how we deliver special education in our SU. And I think there's some changes we probably don't know about yet, and we may not have learned of. But that MTSS is I certainly, as a parent of a child who has received services, I know that MTSS, those MTSS meetings were what brought me in as a parent to engage with the whole team to look at that child. And I feel that it is not putting more pressure where it's not needed at this time, but to put down a marker that this is something we'll want to know more about, because the changes in special education are a big part of our school.
So I see Katie's quizzical look. So the MTSS process is what sometimes leads to special education, which is the experience you're talking about.
Yes.
Sometimes it leads to a 504 plan. Sometimes it leads to an MTSS plan. So I think, Katie, what Sean was talking from personal experience, but the truth is MTSS is about all kids. How do we support all kids? And we have a fantastic plan at the school, but it rarely involved special ed kids once they were special ed. So we took kids through a process. When they became eligible, they stepped out of the MTSS arena. Well, under the new guidelines, that's different. We still serve all kids. So I think that's probably what Sean's alluding to. And we do have a task force that we have 10 members of the MTSS leadership team. They've done a tremendous job. We brought in, David, who was that gal? Karen brought in Jennifer.
Oh yeah, from up north.
Pat Nude. She was outstanding. And she taught us how we could weave the data in. She taught us how to create a continuum that really supported teachers, helping kids before we got to the referral process. So we're not abandoning it. We've actually done quite a bit of work on it. We just haven't rolled it out formally because it's really intended for face-to-face instruction. And we're not there anymore. So it's all of a sudden, you know, we had this fabulous plan that we were going to roll out to teachers. We might roll it out. It'll depend what the fall looks like. But in the meantime, I think just my example of telling you Kristen Hubner today sent me the reading scores of every single kid that she has worked with since March 17th. And that was an end of year assessment in reading. It was a running record. And I know every kid's score that she worked with in K1 and 2. I know where they were in the fall. I know where they were in January. And I know where they ended the year. And it was just incredible data. And what it said to me is she didn't let any kids slip through the cracks. She knew who the at-risk kids were. Now that's MTSS. And we didn't talk about that when we all left the building on March 17th. But everybody picked that torch up. The one thing we did talk about before we left the building, Susan Hindinger had given me a book entitled One Trusted Adult. And everybody should read that. I got to get it back to Susan. And it talked about how we need to find a way individually to wrap services and support and love around every kid. So what I said to faculty on March 17th, we are not leaving this school until every single kid, 232 I think we had that day, has one trusted adult wrapped around them. And we did do that. And BJ, for example, she had 7 kids on her roster. She was a trusted adult for 7 kids. Not a week went by that she wasn't, you know, I could hear her, we were still in the building, laughing, reading to the child, joking, the child was reading to her, a variety of things to connect in a meaningful way. And that's what we all did. So every single student had someone connected to them. If that's not MTSS, nothing is. I love it.
Thank you. And forgive me if I fumble with what things actually go where, but I know what MTSS did for my family. Are there further questions or comments for our principal?
Hi, I just wanted to say that I'm very, very blessed about what you did with that, Jean Marie, and all the staff. I wanted to cry last time when I heard it. I'm so proud of our school and of you for taking that book and assigning each of the children a staff member. I just think that it's so important at this time, and I was really touched, and I've bragged on it to other people just to let you know about how great our principal in school is. So I just wanted you to know that.
David, we've come to the superintendent's report.
You know, I think I might beat Jean Marie in terms of time on air right here, because I also accomplished most of the stuff I was going to talk about was already on the agenda. So I think that including the setup for the principal search, some of the financial issues, the professional development. So I think I'm going to just say exactly what Jean said, that I think all of our teachers across the supervisory union, all of our staff, our administrators, our parents, our kids, they've just worked under some incredibly difficult conditions and done such a great job. I think it is one of the, I was following a lot of the drama and trauma happening in some of the bigger districts up north, Burlington, Winooski, a lot of the Chittenden County stuff, and even down in Brattleboro. But I think there's some really strong advantages to working in small towns, small schools, communities that wrap around their kids. And I think that's exactly what we did. Nobody asked for it. We had 48 hours to plan for it. And here we are at the end of June. And I think teachers worked and support staff worked long hours to make sure every kid was in touch with, an adult. And I think that's yeoman's work. Were the kids that fell through the cracks? Of course there were. And we're going to chase them, and we won't let up on those. And as Jessica said, we may have some work to do when we get back. But I really, I'm proud to be the superintendent and proud to see the work that's gone on. And we've got some tough days ahead of us, including these professional development days. Angie said there's a little fear and trepidation about how this is going to go because it's all virtual. And so we're going to be, tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have 125 teachers on a Zoom meeting, and we're going to try to lead a decent professional development activity with them. So I just want to thank everybody for all the hard work that they did, and I feel like we're getting close to the finish line. Hang on, and then we can maybe take a little rest and just crank up again soon.
Any questions for David? Hearing none. I don't believe we've generated, we've done our items for action, Becky, and you'll allocate them as appropriate?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
To setting the next agenda, one of the questions we'll have is whether we're ready to go back to meeting in person. The governor has said we can be in groups of 25. We're 3 over right now. But there also could be some hybrid model in which we meet in person with the possibility of joining by video. What is the board's pleasure?
Just for this next meeting, if it's going to be July 11th, does that sound about right? I will be out of town for that week. So if there's any way I could log in digitally, I'd like to do that. Whether or not we can do a combination or not, I'm not sure.
Okay.
It looks like it's July 14th for our next meeting. Second Tuesday.
Correct.
Bastille? Are we going to storm the Bastille? I'll storm the Bastille.
You've been storming.
Hey, Sean, this is Robin. Given that there's been 28, 30 people on the last couple of meetings, I prefer to keep it virtual. I'm comfortable being with 25 people, even if we were to max it out indoors. And given the time of evening, I don't know that I'm comfortable being outdoor while we spread out outdoors. So I would prefer to have it virtual next time.
Yeah,
Robin,
my vote is for virtual as well.
Yeah, I saw you nodding, Anne, and so I was taking you into account. I think that tells me that we should agree. All right, then, if it's July 14th by Google Hangout, then what are our items for the next agenda? The plans for COVID-19 for 2020 and beyond is a catch-all for what are we going to do next year. Are people satisfied with that continuing to be a agenda item as it's currently named? Okay, that's on. What else?
I guess we'll need to talk about the principal search committee again, just sort of like more buttoning down what we're going to do exactly and when.
What I heard David saying is that we don't have any real work to do on that till September, but did I misunderstand, David?
Well, we want to make it public. There's no problem. Matter of fact, I've gotten a couple of emails from people at this meeting. There's no problem, certainly, if people want to let us know early that they'd like to be considered for the search committee. So you could put that out, I think, on Facebook. But I think in terms of the forums, I think we do need to, probably July would be a good time to talk about how we want to do those and get those stakeholder forums set up and have that conversation.
May we designate that as principal search forum?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, principal search stakeholder forums. I think that would be it's a long name, but I think that's what it is.
Okay.
And we'll talk about how we want to do the teacher forums, how we want to do the parent forums, and how we want to do the community forums. There's 3 stakeholder groups that I see. So we can talk about those at our next meeting.
And then will you be ready with the Memorial Day celebration committee, Sean? You want to do that next month?
Yes, let's put that on. Thank you. Okay, anything else?
It would be great to hear how the staff.
Go ahead, Robin.
Sorry, it would be great to hear how the staff professional development days went, kind of the plans and thoughts that they brainstormed and came up with, of course, along with any further guidance, David, that you have from the AOE or whoever at that point in time.
Yeah.
So those are 2 separate things, I guess.
No, that's good. So sort of the reopening update.
But one thing I'm hearing, Robin, is that it would be good. I mean, in a way, I'm thinking, well, that would be part of the principal's report or the superintendent's report. But I hear you saying something that I feel, which is that we want to hear from the staff. Does that reflect your wish, Robin?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Okay. Well, then let's add. What would you like to call that, Robin? A report on professional development?
Sure.
/ reopening, maybe?
Okay. Professional development and reopening.
Yeah, I like it.
Should we be issuing? Go ahead, Ann.
I also was wondering if maybe we should talk about athletics, like what's happening with athletics. Do we have an athletics thing going forward next year? What happens, with COVID and all that?
That is really important. Yeah, that's I know at today or yesterday's news conference, I believe a new set of guidelines about not school sports but rec leagues was issued.
Summer programming, yeah.
So thank you for that. Shall we call it 2021 athletics?
Yeah,
Good.
summer.
Thanks for that, Ann. It's
summer,
so critical.
That's a good idea.
Okay, any more items? Hearing none. Becky, can you give us back what we have put on the agenda?
Plan for COVID-19 for 220 and beyond. Principal search forum. Memorial Day committee. Report about professional development days and 2021 athletics.
So I have a question on the FY21 athletics. Our AD is currently not under contract. She is content waiting till July to hear what it is, how the school year will begin. If we are remote, there will be no athletics, and so there'll be no report. We're not going to know July 14th how the year will roll out. So it's premature to ask about athletics. She's not even under contract. Her contract ends June 30th. And it's a conversation if you want to have the conversation. But if we're remote next year, there's no reason to have an athletic director. So I just want to remind you that we might be premature. That might be a better conversation for August. Because we don't know how the year is going to begin.
My thought there, Jean Marie, is that it could be a very short conversation, but we may know more, and it is. I don't think it's something we should neglect. If there's nothing to talk about, then that's easy. I love agenda items like that. But
that's fine.
But if we do, I know that I know that Jessica is wondering about whether she has a position with us next year, and seems respectful for us to at least put down a marker so that we can address it if we have any new information.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, thank you, Becky. Hearing no other agenda items, and we are July 14th at 5:30 online by Google Hangout. Okay. With that, I would take a motion to go into executive session.
I move that we go into executive session.
I'll second that.
Second to Ann. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. The board is inviting our principal, all the building principals, and all the authors of the letter that was addressed to the executive committee last week to